Well, good morning all, and it is a privilege for me to call this meeting of Huron County Council to order and to welcome everyone here today. It is absolutely awesome to see such full council chambers this morning. I would like to welcome all members of council, all members of our senior management team that will provide us facts and information so we can make decisions in the best interest of the corporation of the County of Huron and our 61,000 residents. Welcome to all members of the public that are joining us this morning and our staff that will receive recognition of their dedication to the corporation of the County of Huron this morning, and welcome also to all members of the media in attendance. I would like to indicate that council meetings are available live through Zoom, and recordings may be posted online on County of Huron's YouTube channel. You may be seen and or heard as part of these broadcasts, and your name, comments, and or presentation materials will become part of the public record. As indicated, this is a very great day for Huron County today. We have the opportunity to recognize our very, very dedicated staff for their commitment to the County of Huron. The certificates that will be presented today will range from 10 years of employment up to 40 years. And that speaks to the corporation of the County of Huron. We not only attract the most talented staff possible, we're able to retain them. And I want to personally thank everyone, all of our staff, for your dedication to the corporation of the County of Huron. In the last week, we had a tremendous multicultural festival that was held in Goderich. I made comments on Friday night and again on Saturday on behalf of Huron County Council, CAO work, and all of our staff. And I always comment about our 700 staff because when we open our meeting, we're a team. We all work together with council and all of our staff, and together we can accomplish great things. It was a great festival, tremendously well attended. The staff that organized it, of course, did their usual tremendous job. And it was great to see the diversity, and everyone is welcome in Huron County. And that's what makes Huron County great, is the strength of our diversity. It was also an interesting day on Sunday at the Clinton Raceway for Legends Day. And that is an opportunity for the best harness horse drivers in Canada to gather in Clinton at the Raceway. And they also invited the Harness Hall of Fame inductees to attend also. And I brought comments on behalf of Huron County Council to that. They have fundraisers each week, and this past week it was for the Clinton Hospital, and they raised $6,100 for that cause. And that, again, is the strength of Huron County. Monday was an awesome Canada Day that we all enjoyed. The weather was a little bit warmer than it was the day before. The parade in Goderich, I have never seen as many people that came out to observe the parade. And congratulations to all involved in all of our communities on the Canada Day celebrations. We are privileged to live in the best country of the world. And we never, ever want to take that for granted. And we want to celebrate that. Finally, at a recent meeting that I attended of the Southwestern Ontario Isotope Coalition, Huron County was presented with a certificate for our membership in that Isotope Coalition. And it would be my privilege now to ask CAO Work to receive this award that I would like to present her on behalf of Huron County. CAO Work, would you please? Membership in an organization like this speaks so well for Huron County. With the isotope production that Bruce Power is doing, it will save lives with those that are afflicted with cancer. Not only in Huron County, far beyond Canada. Those isotopes are flown to other countries to help with treatment, and it is successful treatment. And it is a privilege for Huron County to be part of this very, very positive coalition for a larger good. With that, I would entertain a mover and a seconder for the approval of the agenda that has been circulated for today, and that would be Councillor Finch and past Warden Ginn. All in favour of this motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Do any members of council have a declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof of any agenda item that we have today? Seeing none, we do have the minutes that have been circulated from the 26th of June, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder to accept these minutes, and that would be Councillor Vanstone moves and Elvin McClellan seconds. Are there any questions on these minutes? Seeing none, all in favour of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Under delegations, petitions, and presentations, as I alluded to earlier, we have the privilege of presenting the 2024 Service Awards to our staff. These awards range from 10 years to 40 years, and that speaks to our tremendously dedicated and talented staff and to the corporation and our CAO for the retention of our staff. I would personally like to thank each and every one and congratulate every staff member that are receiving the awards today. And with that, I will now pass it over to CAO Work, please, for some comments.
Thanks so much, Warden McNeil. As County Council knows, this is absolutely my favorite meeting of the year because the decisions that are made at the council table are nothing without the support that we receive from the over 700 staff at the Corporation of the County of Huron. And today we have an opportunity to recognize 56 of those individuals who, as Warden McNeil indicated, are receiving recognition today from 10 to, in some cases, 40 years of service to the corporation. Again, we rest on the shoulders of all of these individuals who serve our constituents here in Huron County with dedication and tremendous value, which represent the Corporation of the County of Huron. So thank you so much to each and every one of you. In terms of process, I am going to recognize a few members of the senior management team, and then I will call on each and every one of the directors in turn, who then will announce those who are receiving recognition from within their department. After each group, we will ask those individuals to come forward to receive their award. Hannah will take a photo of each of the groups. And then at the very end, we are asking everyone, even once you have received the award, to stay within council chambers, and we would like to have a group picture with everyone outside on the steps of the courthouse. So County Council, if you would bear with us, after everyone has received their award, we're going to ask for 5 to 10 minutes for that photo to happen. I think it is important for us to take that opportunity to recognize everyone at the same time. So with that, I am absolutely privileged to recognize two members, County Council of the senior management team, who are being recognized for their years of service today. First is Susan Cronin for 10 years of service. It's hard to believe.
I know, it feels like 40.
Well, since she's 19, she started really young. And Dana Meller, who's being recognized for 15 years of service. Congratulations to both of you.
Constantly directing.
Directing.
on behalf of Director Weber, I'm also delighted to recognize Denise Van Amersfoort, who is being recognized today for 15 years of service to the Corporation of the County of Huron. And now I will turn it over to Director Chief Horseman to recognize those within your department, please.
Thank you and good morning, and thanks for coming, everybody. On behalf of the Emergency Services Department and the County of Huron, I'd like to recognize the following paramedics from within our department. Mason Halstead for 15 years of service, Josie Nagu for 15 years of service, Adam Robinson for 15 years of service, Stacy Byers-Bergen for 20 years of service, Karen Rollins-Beneteau for 20 years of service, and Tracy Shearer for 20 years of service. If any of the paramedics can afford.
Now I'm delighted to ask Director Vanstone, please.
Good morning. I am truly grateful to celebrate Ashley Vanderberg's 15 years at the County of Huron. Thanks, Ash, for your dedication and commitment and truly making us laugh every day.
Now I'll turn it over to Director Blumhagen, who can recognize those from within his departments who are being recognized for years of service.
Good morning, everyone, and it's my pleasure to recognize the following staff. So I have two within the Provincial Offences Department. So Stacey Glauscher with 10 years of service, and Courtney Mulligan with also 10 years of service. And within our BTS IT team, two individuals, Mike Mason with 15 years of service, and yeah, I'd really like to congratulate Kim Reed with 35 years of service, and Kim is with us today. So, and I hope to see Kim here for her 40th. So.
And now I will turn it over to Director Khalid to recognize those in the Public Works Department, please.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Public Works Department, we would also like to recognize the following staff for their years of service. They all happen to be from the Zurich Patrol Yard. We have Robbie McClure for 10 years, Dustin Mills also for 10 years, Roger Benninger for 15 years, and Terry Lynch for 20 years. Unfortunately, none of them could be here today because we're in our shouldering season and we need all hands on deck, but congratulations to all of them, and we really appreciate their service.
And I'm delighted to ask Director Meller now, please, to introduce those from the homes who are being recognized.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to take this opportunity to say how proud I am to be here today to celebrate each and every one of our staff members that are here today. We are celebrating anywhere from 10 years to 40 years of service. It takes a special person to work in long-term care. It's an ever-changing landscape, and I'm very proud to be here today. So we will start with 10 years of service. So we have Nikki Armstrong, 10 years of service. Marsha Balsma, 10 years of service. Maggie Chickawanda, also 10 years of service. Astrid Denduran, 10 years of service. Caitlin Garrow, 10 years of service. Christine Keffer, 10 years of service. Caitlin McDougall, 10 years of service. Carrie Ann Miller, 10 years of service. And Mariette Top, also 10 years of service. Then we have Margaret Dunn, who's been here for 15 years. Janelle Dykstra as well, with 15 years. Kathy Ingham, 15 years. Rob sorry, I'm not saying his name right. Ordable, 15 years. Joan Walker Day, 15 years. With 20 years, we have Dwayne Gibson. Karen Granger is also 20 years of service. Michelle Irwin is 25 years. Sherry Taylor is 30 years. And then we have two staff members that are celebrating 40 years. And this is Christine Bear and Kathy Dykstra. So congratulations, everybody.
Now I'm delighted to ask Director Rumble to recognize those in her department.
Thank you, everyone. It is my absolute pleasure and with deep gratitude that I recognize the staff in cultural services. With 10 years of service, we have Megan Foxton. Also with 10 years of service is Hamilton Baker. With 15 years of service, we have Krista Lennon. With 20 years of service, we have Trina Huffman, Cheryl Rao, also with 20 years of service, and Val Pratt with 20 years of service. And lastly, with an incredible 40 years of service is Reg Thompson. Congrats, everybody.
I would ask Director Loss, please, to recognize the staff in your department.
Thank you. It gives me great pleasure today to recognize Rick Sickinger for 10 years of dedication, vision, and leadership to Huron County.
And finally, County Council, I will ask Director Hall to recognize those in the Social and Property Services Department.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Social and Property Services Department, it is my privilege and my pleasure to announce the service awards today. We have 10 staff and it's ranging in years from 10 years to 25 years. We have Julie Fortune with 10 years, Carl Hunard with 10 years, Jeff Kerslake, 10 years, Jamie Koskamp, also with 10 years, Daryl McCann, 10 years, and Aaron Schooley with 10 years. We have Karen Heather with 15 years, Kent Alton with 15 years, Rochelle Walker with 15 years, and finally Jen Manello with 25 years of service. Congratulations.
And if we could just show one more round of applause for all the staff, please. If it is acceptable to the Warden and County Council, we will take a minute now to ask those staff who were being recognized today to meet downstairs just outside the courthouse on the south side of the building on the stairs where we will have a group photo. And after that, Joel will be welcoming you to the committee room where you will receive your recognition or the gift from the county that you have chosen there. So County Council will just be a few minutes.
Okay, is that all right with County Council? So we'll recess for 10 minutes. Okay, thank you. To resume our meeting and call our meeting to order again. Just a reminder to all members of County Council, we will be having a group photo with all of County Council and our senior management team following the meeting today. So with that, on agenda item 6.2, I would like to welcome David Yates and Conrad Kuiper to present to Huron County Council today on the Huron County Cenotaph Book Project. Welcome, sirs.
Good morning, Warden McNeil and County Council. I'm David Yates. I'm a local historian, and I'm here with my colleague, award-winning photographer Conrad Kuiper. And we're here to request funding, $5,000 funding for a cenotaph book on the cenotaphs of Huron County. And there you see two, and the middle panel there, For One Fleeting Dream of Right, appears on the Goderich cenotaph, which just turned 100 the day before yesterday. Next slide, please. Okay, a little bit of background. At the end of the Great War, all Canada was a house of mourning, and every community in the country had to determine or decide how best to commemorate their community's war dead. And remember, for these people living 100 years ago, the names carved in stone or cast in bronze were living flesh and blood that were known. And every community in Huron County has a remarkable story about how they came to the decision about the form that their cenotaph would take. And just some background there. Cenotaphs, actually at first they were called war monuments or soldier monuments, but then the term by the late 1920s, cenotaph, which means empty tomb, which is a more appropriate term for what they became, the significance they became for their communities, because it was a surrogate funeral. At the unveiling ceremonies in every community, it attracted tens of thousands of people. Tiny little St. Helens had nearly 20,000 people attend their cenotaph unveiling. They were hugely important events, and every community in Huron County, every Huron County community has a unique story that we've told in our book through pictures that Conrad has taken and the stories that we've written, and we're going to put them in a book form, put before the public the important story of their local cenotaphs. And Huron County just has 14 cenotaphs. 15 if you include the one in Lucknow, because the names of the Ashfield Township slain were put on the Lucknow cenotaph. Okay, next one, please. And what we'd like to do in a standard, at first, we in the standard book is formatted 6x9 format book, single space pages, but it's going to be about 100 to 120 page book with the plates of the cenotaphs, each cenotaph in Huron County, put on plates and in the book so that people see their cenotaph, their community cenotaph, in a way they've never seen it before. Okay. And here you have, as I said, each one has an individual story that we've told in book form that we think is important for the county, the people in the county to know. Next page, please. Okay, so this is a not-for-profit venture. All proceeds, after we pay for expenses, all proceeds we like to turn back to the county so that you hopefully get your full amount back. And you could put it in some sort of fund, I don't know, call it a cenotaph fund or whatever, but something so that the county has something, even to freshen up the gardens or whatever the county decides is fine. But as I said, pricing to be determined. Local print shop will print it off so the money stays in the county as much as possible. And I stress again, Conrad and I aren't making any money off of this. This is strictly a not-for-profit venture that we hope the county will favorably look upon. Okay, next one, please. And as I said, we're requesting the amount of $5,000, and the grant will go to pay for expenses like layout, design, printing off hopefully a couple hundred copies of the book, and any proceeds above and beyond the cost we return to the county. And With that, you could see the soldier statue here in Goderich, lifting his helmet in farewell to those who did not come back at the East Street Station, and their glory shall not fade. I'm going to turn it over to my esteemed colleague, Conrad, to say a few words.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, I'm Conrad Kuiper, as Dave mentioned. I'm a child of 2 Dutch immigrants, so I quite literally owe my existence to the sacrifice of Canadian soldiers during the Second World War. So this does have special significance for me. In traveling the county, taking photos, a couple things struck me. One is just how many memorials there are. I hadn't even realized that. And it also struck me that many of them I drove by over and over and over again and never even noticed. And so this project has really helped raise personal awareness for me, which I appreciate. And I'm hoping to be able to spread that. I was also struck that even while most of them are in pretty good shape, they could use some love and care and attention. And the phrase, "we shall remember them," appears over and over and over again on these monuments. And I worry sometimes that we may be forgetting. And the final thing I'll close with, which I found ironic, you can see the phrase on the monument just outside the door here that says, "Never shall thy glory fade." And yet, if you walk around the monument and you look at some of the panels of names, some of them are getting hard to read. And I worry that we may be neglecting them. And at some point, they're going to need some love and care and attention. And we're hoping with proceeds of the book that might happen. So thank you. Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, and there seems to be a renewed interest in this in Canada's military past. We saw the day before yesterday, this cenotaph turned 100. Less than a month ago, we had the Lancaster here, and it attracted 8,000 to 10,000 people. And if you were watching CBC and CTV, we brought back an unknown soldier from the battle at Beaumont Hamel from the Royal Newfoundland Regiment to be interred in St. John's. And the outpouring of emotion over 100 years later, 108 years later, and that on the sacrifice of that one battle where the entire Newfoundland Regiment was almost 91% casualties, it still resonates today, as the monuments here in Huron County for the local community resonate today as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David and Conrad, for your presentation to Huron County Council today. Do any members of Huron County Council have any questions or comments of either gentleman? I will go first to Mayor Finch and then to Councillor Finch and then Councillor Klopp.
Thank you. Through the ward. So just so I understand, seed money is basically what you're looking for at this point. Is that correct, David?
That's correct. We're just looking for money to get this off the ground, and any proceeds that come back above and beyond the expenses will come back to the county.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Klopp, please.
Thank you. To the both of you, the quality of the pictures, I've often wondered how many there are in Huron County. I think it's a good project that and for $5,000, but there is a process that we need to follow, and I don't want to. Doesn't matter if it's 5,000 or 50 million. I think I don't want to set a total precedent, but I'm willing to not only make this recommendation but add. And I look to the clerk or the CEO to word it right for my colleagues to decide, to second it or whatever, that we look to the process to give $5,000 seed money.
Okay, just hold that thought. That's perfect. Thank you very much. Are there any further questions or comments of our presenters? Councillor Basnet, please.
Excuse me. Thank you to both of you for coming. Very educational as well for me to sit here and learn how many monuments there are. And David, every event that I've attended that, the Lancaster event that you speak at, you do a wonderful job on providing the history of Huron County. And, the names that and the people that it's fantastic. And I'm also, in favor of Councillor Klopp's idea here. I don't want to overstep the process, but $5,000 for something like this, for seed money, where you're then saying if there's money made more than 5,000, it comes back to the county. I think it's a great idea. So thank you to both of you.
Thank you very much for that. Any further questions or comments? And if Councillor Noel, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Thank you so much for the presentation. Just a quick question on timing. Is there any urgency to this, or is this a project that is just sort of been underway for some time and you're getting to the stage now where you need to get it off the ground? Thank you.
We're hoping for a book launch, say mid-October at the latest. Time it for Remembrance Day. And we'd like to, it's possible to get all the material to the printer by the end of this month. But we can wait till August or, the next meeting or whatever.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, any further questions or comments? Councillor McClellan, please. Past Warden McClellan.
Just one thing, Mr. Warden, since we're bypassing the normal process, and that's fine if that's what council wants to do, could I just ask that,
CAO, please.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Warden, recommendation would be for a staff report to come back. That's standard process. So I would have Director Rumble and Treasurer Blumhagen have a conversation about the allocation of the funds. We would bring that report back to County Council so that County Council could make that decision at the next meeting.
which is what I thought was the normal process. I was under the impression that's not what was going to be asked, but okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Any further questions or comments? And if not, thank you very much to David and Conrad for presenting to us today and undertaking this very important project.
Thank you, Ward. Thank you, Council.
At this time, I'm going to defer to our clerk for process. If you would have a comment for us on this, please, at this time.
Thank you, Warden. So it's absolutely up to County Council. There is a motion in the agenda to receive it for information, which is standard. The next step in the process would be to request a staff report. So we can do this in one motion, or we can do this in two motions, depending on what council would like to do. We can have just receive for information, and then we could do request a staff report, or we can have receive for information and request a staff report.
Is council okay if we do it in two sections, and that would follow our normal process? Okay, so I would entertain a mover and a seconder to receive this report from David Yates and Conrad Kuiper for information purposes, and that would be past Warden McClellan and Councillor Finch. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. And is there a subsequent desire from this council? And I will defer to Councillor Klopp, please.
I will make the motion that we ask for a staff report on the request for $5,000 and then have it come back to council as soon as possible.
Correct process, and it'll be seconded by Councillor Finch. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion? Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you very much, and thank you very much again for that. Do any members of council have any comments that they would like to make at this time? Seeing none, I thank you for that. We do have a consent agenda that encompasses item 8.1 to 8.7. Is there anything that anyone would like to address within there? And if not, I would entertain a mover and a seconder to receive items 8.1 through 8.7, that they be approved with the actions as noted. And that is Councillor Van Stone and P. Heffer. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Under number 9, Planning and Development, 9.1 is a consent file, C28-2024. Abram Martins is the applicant, and I would welcome Jen Burns to present this application to County Council at this time. Please, Jen.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for your patience. This morning, we have consent application C28 of 2024 in Morris Turnberry. The owner and applicant is Abram Martins, and he is with us this morning. So this property is outlined in blue just to the east of Wingham on Salem Road, almost at the corner of Salem and B line. The subject property is approximately a 53-acre farm zoned AG1 and NE2. There is some natural environment features to the rear portion of the farm, as you can see on the air photo shown on the presentation. This application is for a surplus farmhouse severance. So there's the existing house that is on the property, as well as an existing home industry for a furniture refinishing business, which is intended to go with the house and not remain on the farmland. The reason why the application is before you today is because the house is not a minimum of 15 years old. So in our Huron County official plan, as well as in our Morris Turnberry official plan, in order to sever a surplus farmhouse, the house does need to be a minimum 15 years old. Those policies, as I mentioned, are within our local policies, as well as maintain the intent of what has been envisioned by the provincial policy statement in order to ensure that houses are not just being built on farms, severed off extremely quickly and having people capitalize on the sale of both the severed lot and the farmland separately. So in review of the policies, as we know, we do have quite a list of criteria that applications need to meet in order to be supportable. So the age of the residence is the one that is the sticking point for today. The farmland needs to be zoned to prohibit a residence, which is done through our automatic rezoning provisions. The size of the severed parcel needs to be minimized to only accommodate for the residential and servicing requirements, which this parcel would meet, does meet that policy. MDS in this case does not apply since there is no barn on the retained farmland, and there can be no previous residential severances after June 28 of 1973, except for in the settlement areas. So this application does meet the remainder of the requirements. It's just that the house was not constructed a minimum of 15 years ago and was constructed in 2016. No concerns have been raised from staff or the public, and Morris Turnberry Council did recommend approval of this application at their June 18th council meeting. There are no outstanding concerns from staff either. So that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Jen, for that presentation. As this is now an open meeting, I would open it up to the public to make any comments that they would like in the order. Is there anyone that is opposed to this application that would like to speak at this time? Clerk Cronin, please.
If anyone wishes to speak who's outside the meeting, please use the raised hand function. At this time, I see no one that is indicating they wish to speak. Okay.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of this application at this time?
No one has indicated they wish to speak in favor of this application.
Thank you very much. Would the applicant care to make any comments on this application at this time? And if you do, please go to the microphone and indicate your first and last name, and we would welcome your comments. Thank you.
I'm Abram Martins. Good morning, Council, and thank you, Jen, for the representation. You did a good job. I feel I don't have too much to say. Yeah, it was just our desire to sever off the surplus land. It's only 30 acres, and having farm equipment for only 30 acres wasn't quite feasible. So we just decided to sell it as surplus land. And I thank everybody for their time this morning, and I appreciate your help in this.
Okay, thank you very much, Abraham. This time I'm going to call on the Mayor Morris Turnberry for comments from your council. Please, Councillor Heffer.
Thank you, Warden McNeil. And as Jen said in her report, that Morris Turnberry Council did put forth a recommendation to approve this application, but it was not a unanimous decision. And just in regard to following policy, we sometimes have policies in place for reasons, and we have to decide whether we're going to go outside of that policy or not with this application. And so that was the acceptance of Morris Turnberry was to approve, but it was not unanimous.
Thank you very much for those comments, and I will now open it up to County Council for any questions to our planner. And the first will be from Past Warden McClellan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I certainly have no reason to object to this if the municipality of Morris Turnberry wants to go ahead with it. I guess my big concern is the fact that I remember when we used to use that 73 time frame, and County Council had a long discussion. I don't remember whether it was the province that got on board or whatever, but we changed it to that 15 years for good reason, and things that we wanted to avoid. So my question is, do we want to break our own rule, or do we need to go back and look at that again? And maybe that's just an arbitrary number we came up with, and maybe things like this shouldn't even have to come to County Council in the future when every other rule is met, but should it be considered going forward? Thank you.
Thank you for the comment. Jen, do you have any? Jen and then Denise, or maybe Denise. I will defer to staff, please, for a response.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I'll pass this one to Denise so she can give a little bit of extra history and context.
Yeah, thank you very much. Through the warden, Councilor McClellan is correct. This was a shift that was made a number of years back, going from a hard date that the house had to have been older that date or replaced a residence that had been there prior. And the feeling was that that was too stringent and they were going to move to a 15-year rolling date. Now, the thinking at the time was that we wanted to avoid speculative activity on Huron County farmland. So 15 years at that time was County Council's feeling that that was a sufficient enough length of time to avoid that type of activity.
Thank you very much for that response. I'm going to go to Past Warden Ginn and then Councillor Vanstone, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Warden. And I was here when those discussions occurred, and I'll just say I wasn't really on side then, and I've always questioned the value of that. Especially today, since we've made the changes that you can build, up to 3 more houses on the same lot. And if people want to get into the speculation game, there's ample opportunity to do that now. So I have no problem with this being passed through. And I honestly think we need to look at that 15-year rule again and, see whether it's still valid today with the housing shortage and some of the other rules have been approved by this council. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Vanstone, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Warden. I just wanted to know, how old is the house that's there, if I could, please?
Yes, I believe it was built in 2016.
Okay, thank you. And I'm the same as the other councillors here. I'm not against this going through. It's not like the man is out to make any money. Now with the capital gains, he's probably going to lose money on this by trying to sell that piece of property. So I think we should look at this again, that 15 years. I don't think it's feasible. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Any further questions or comments of our planner? Councillor Noel, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. My only question is why now? So if you could wait 8 years and just be rubber stamped, what's the incentive to go ahead with this today?
Thank you for that. Staff, please.
Yeah, it's a good question, and perhaps maybe the applicant can provide a little bit more context as to why they want to go ahead with it right now. As we've said, the 15 years is that rolling rolling number to try to avoid that speculation. Perhaps if their circumstances changed or what have you, then they are wanting to sell the farmland to a qualifying farmer. So the farmland, as a recommended condition, is to be registered in the name of a local qualifying farmer who has another house with a farm, another farm with a house on it. But yeah, I don't have too much more as to why they are applying at this time. Perhaps if you need some more information, the applicant is here and would be able to speak to that.
Okay, thank you for that. The applicant would like to respond to that, if you would, please. Thank you.
We had a few things that got us thinking that way. One was one of my brothers was living close by and we were always farming together. So I was using most of his farm equipment and he moved away. So that was no longer possible. And the second thing was just increasing interest cost and everything went up. So we were just looking at ways of reducing that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Any additional questions or comments of our planner on this? We have Councillor Klopp, please.
Thank you. This, I guess, is to the applicant. So what kind of business that you're in, that you obviously full-time at? Just clarify that.
Do you care to respond to that question, please?
What I do full time is furniture making and staining, reselling. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Any further questions or comments of staff or of council? We do have a process in place on this, and I will entertain a mover and a seconder that we approve the recommendation of our planner that it be denied. A mover and a seconder for this. Seeing none, I will then ask if we have a mover and a seconder to approve this consent application with the presented conditions. And that is past Warden McClellan and past Warden Ginn. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Clerk, would you confirm that that motion carries?
I do.
Okay, thank you very much. Jen, what would be the subsequent motion of the effect of public and agency comments on this decision, please?
Sure. Just give me 1 sec to share my screen here. So 2A, no public comments were received on the application, so the effect, so there was no effect on the decision. And then 5B, comments were received from agencies identifying the issues of the surplus farmhouse not meeting the minimum 15-year policy. The effect did not influence the decision of council to approve the application.
Thank you very much for that. And I would entertain a mover and a seconder. The effect of public and agency comments on this decision be 2A and 5B. Councillor Vanstone moves. Councillor McClellan seconds. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. And I would ask if there's a desire for a subsequent motion for a staff report on the 15-year limit. And that would be moved by past Warden McClellan, seconded by Councillor Jay Heffer. Discussion on the staff report. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you very much. As we move into cultural services, administration, nothing on that, administration policies and other issues. I would welcome on number 11.1, the municipal funding agreement of the Canada Community Building Fund. Our Treasurer and Director of Corporate Services, Michael Blumhagen, is here to respond to any questions that council may have on this. Do we have any questions for Councillor Blumhagen? And seeing none, I would entertain a mover and a seconder that the Council of the Corporation of the County of Huron receives a report on the municipal funding agreement of the Canada Community Building Fund, and that we enter into a new funding agreement with the appropriate bylaws executed. Moved by Councillor Becker, seconded by Councillor Noel. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. I thank you very much. Thanks, Mike. 11.2 is the new Agenda Management Program. Our clerk, Susan Cronin, is here to respond to any questions that any members of council may have on this. Very self-explanatory. I would entertain a mover and a seconder to receive this report for information, and that would be Councillor Anderson and Bazinet. All in favor of the motion? And that again is carried. Thank you, Susan. Correspondence. We have a number of correspondence issues. Is there anything that anyone would like to pull? And I will go first to Councillor Finch, please.
Yeah, thank you. Through the warden, 12.5, please.
Okay, 12.5. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Van Stone seconds that. Okay, all in favor of the motion? Hands up, please. Opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, Clerk Cronin, please.
Sorry, Warden, I actually forgot to indicate this. Councillor Finch, I believe, had a question on 12.4, which was the asset retirement obligation last meeting, and we did defer this until Treasurer Blumhagen was here. I'm not sure if you wanted to go after that one or not.
Yeah, opinion from Mr. Blumhagen, maybe.
Okay, thank you for that. Mike, please, are you prepared?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely. No, thank you, Warden. So the asset retirement obligations, it's a new accounting standard that we have had to implement for 2023. It impacts all municipalities, not only in Ontario but across Canada. It's actually not enforced, or it's not an obligation or requirement of the province. It's from the Public Sector Accounting Board. So they established the standards across Canada for municipal governments. So it's just it's a new standard that we've had to implement. And respectfully, there are some costs that are associated with doing that. I believe we had engaged Alan Avis Architects for some of the work, and it was about $18,000. So there is an element of cost to it, but it's not unlike some of the other accounting standards that we've had to implement over the years. If you recall, the early retiree benefit obligations, some of the WSIB obligations that we've had to set up, and those continually incur some costs as well. Just the whole issue of setting up our tangible capital assets on our financial statements, that was an accounting change that we've had to do. So I'm not sure I have a strong opinion in terms of asking the province for money on this one, but I do feel that for some smaller municipalities that it would be more significant of an effort for them. Just here at the county, we were able to manage within budget. It was part of our budget, and we feel it was manageable. So I'll just leave it.
Thank you for that.
And I appreciate that too. So we do represent 9 lower tiers. So I'm just wondering, should we be supporting that one? It doesn't cost us anything to support it. So that'd be my position.
So would you like to make a motion to that effect?
Yes, please.
Do we have a seconder for that? And Councillor Harding seconds that. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much for that. And thank you very much, Mike. Is there anything else that anyone would like to pull? And if not, I would entertain a mover and a seconder that the Council of the County of Huron accepts correspondence not specifically dealt with for information purposes. P. Heffer and J. Dietrich, all in favor of the motion. And that is carried. Thank you. If there is any new or unfinished business, I would ask that any members contact our CAO in advance so it could be published on a future agenda. 13.1, I would like to welcome Imran to respond to any questions regarding the highway course bulk salt procurement for 2024. Do any members of council have any questions of Imran on this? Councillor Bazinet, please.
Thank you. Thank you, through you, Mr. Warden. So we're moving to a 1-year negotiation compared to a 3. Am I reading this correct?
Thank you for the question. Imran, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, through you. That is what we're requesting at this time. We believe we would like to just explore other options and see if there's any cheaper options out there for the future. So at this time, we're just looking to keep things status quo for 1 year. If we find that there are not opportunities, we're getting the best rate, then next year we will probably come back with approval for another 3-year term.
Okay, thank you.
You're good with that?
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Klopp, please.
Yeah, just to follow up, what, and I apologize, I probably missed it in the reading, but could you clarify for the record what triggered that you felt you needed to just look at 1 year, just help me out here.
Thank you for that. Imran, please.
We believe there's some purchasing groups that are getting better rates through their joint procurement, and we would like to explore that option over the year.
Thank you for that. Any further questions or comments? If not, Past Warden McClellan, please.
I don't have any problem with the fact that we're looking at it. I just want to caution because I do remember there was one other year we decided to do something like this, and it really bit us bad. So I just hope we don't end up going down the wrong path again. That's all.
Thank you very much for that. Further questions or comments? And if not, I would entertain a mover and a seconder to receive this report titled Highway Course Bulk Salt Procurement for 2024, and that a bylaw be made to negotiate the price with Compass Minerals and with the appropriate bylaw be drafted. Councillor Finch moves, Councillor P. Heffer seconds. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Imran. 13.2 is a service agreement, Bridge Housing and Stability Program. Barbara Hall is here to respond to any questions that any members of council may have on this. Do we have any questions or comments for Barbara on this? And I'm going to go first to Councillor Klopp, please.
Thank you. I guess it's a point of first off on clarification. On June 26, we had a report, had a lot of information, a lot of ideas. I read most of them, reread them again. But it came that we said passed a motion that basically was what I call a standard draft service agreement. And the only thing that we passed there by motion was the agreement. And as recall, there was arguments made for 2 years, but it was agreed in the motion that it'd stay at November 1 year, November 1st, 2024 to October 1st, October 31st. And then I read this motion and it comes back that we've added 2 changes, which dramatically, can say cost money. One is extending it 2 months, which has about $150,000, $140,000. And then further, the change on an idea that we take the money from the government, which we've always been asking for money to help not have to go to the taxpayer locally. And that's some 93,000. And if you take it added 2 more months, it puts it to 108,000. And those, I don't recall those any motions made at the previous 26 meeting to have those in. So I guess I need some clarification how they're in there now.
Okay, thank you for the question. I will defer to our CAO, please. CAO work.
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Warden, absolutely, Councillor Klopp. They weren't captured in the report that came forward at that time, which is why it was important to us to make sure it was included in the motion so that County Council was clear about what the parameters were for the decision that they were making. It's as a result of a conversation with the partner that we are looking to enter into. These are their requests, and certainly it is up to council as to whether or not they agree to those parameters. And if it is the wish of council to go back to the 12 months that was originally proposed, we can do that. But ultimately, this is at the request of the partner agency that we are working with.
Thank you very much for that response. Councillor Heffer, please.
Thank you, Warden McNeil. Just some questions, and possibly Barbara could clarify a little bit for me. This is to that the rent subsidy program as an option presented the way I read it in this motion. And just wondering what repercussions, if any, could come if that money is not used for its intended use, but put into this subsidy program. And if that's the case, then what would replace it for its intended use? Just some clarification for myself, please.
Thank you for that. Barbara, please.
Thank you. Through you, Warden McNeil. Thank you for the question regarding that piece. The rental subsidy reserve program is designed for residents of the program who will be exiting into the private market, and it would be used as a rent supplement bank. For example, we know that if somebody is on ODSP their max shelter component will be $556. So as rents are significantly higher in the private market than $556 as they exit into the private market, we would then use that rental reserve bank, a rent bank, basically to help top up for a rent supplement program. So it makes the rents more affordable for individuals that are leaving the program, and actually it enables them to leave the program into the private market when they're ready to do so. And then we can bring new individuals into the program. So it has that continuous flow.
Thank you very much for that explanation. Are you good with that, Councillor Heffer?
Just a follow-up, if I may, Warden.
Absolutely.
And I do understand that aspect, but it's the, if we put that money into this subsidy program, does that money need to be replaced in another way? If we're shuffling it around, is there a vacuum that needs to be filled with other dollars?
Thank you for that. Barbara, please.
Yeah, and thank you. And once again, through you, Warden McNeil. No, that money was not built into the cost estimates that you're showing. We built it outside of, because we had it in the recommendation to have the rent bank in place. And so the rent money that would be paid and the amount that I provided in there is a perfect case scenario as a max. That would not have to be pulled out because it was never embedded in there in the first place.
Thank you for that. And that satisfies Councillor Heffer. Past Warden McClellan, do you have a question or comment, please?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Barbara, thank you for that explanation. And maybe I've missed something here, but how long will we subsidize for?
Thanks for the question. Barbara, please.
And again, thank you. And through you, Warden McNeil, I think it depends on a case-by-case scenario as well. We would certainly encourage individuals to, as they're exiting the program, to find a rent that was affordable in the first place, because we know sustainability would be an issue. And after that, I think it would be on a case-by-case bill in terms of what we have in there.
Okay, thank you for that answer. My only concern is that, and if you're working with an individual and trying to get to something that they'll be able to take over on their own, that's great. But we actually add to our own problem if we just start topping up, because then there's no reason for market rent prices to come down if everything's rented all the time. And if things weren't being rented, some of those rent prices could come down in the future. It's just a little bit of a catch-22 situation. And I would hope at some point we do put a time limit on how long we would subsidize someone who's basically moved to the private sector.
Okay, thank you. Barbara, please.
And through you, Warden McNeil. Oh, absolutely recognize that. And it's something we respect in the Pathways program, the current Pathways program that we have now. We know that individuals, if they're in a unit that's simply too high of a rent, that's not sustainable for their income, then we work with individuals to try and have the sustainability piece, because it can't be an ongoing piece if it's not sustainable. So very first comment was, we'll try and work with individuals through the housing stability team to find units that are within their means to begin with, and recognizing it's not going to be super high-end units. It's going to be, it has to be reasonable. We know that it's not limitless in terms of what the sustainability can be. So it would definitely be a common sense move in terms of the sustainability piece being front and center.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Councillor Vanstone, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Warden. So once we get these people ready to move out on their own and we supplement them for the first year, are they going to be able, have they been trained to do a job or something so there is an income, or are we going to be supplementing them forever? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Barbara, please.
And through you, Warden McNeil, absolutely, it's part of the continuum. So that's what our stability team works on, and it's case-by-case individuals. It's something that in social services that we promote in terms of helping individuals to help them live their best lives in terms of moving along that housing continuum and being able to be self-supportive. But we recognize that maybe some individuals will not, and every case is dependent on that individual and the supports that we can offer. We do wrap the stability team around the individuals and help them on their housing readiness, and determining with our Ontario Works team, who delivers life stabilization supports. So it's a collaborative approach to help move those individuals along wherever possible, but recognizing not everyone may be able to do so, and everyone's timeline is different as well.
And a follow-up. Thank you for that. And a follow-up, Councillor Vanstone.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Warden. And so I guess I'm looking as the fact that, okay, as we all know, there are a lot of people that are on welfare, you know, because they can't work or there's some reason for them not working. So would these people then, once they've gone out, found a place to live, we subsidize them for the first year. Could they do that rather than be on the county's ticket? Because from what I see, we're subsidizing all that. And their other income, where would it come from if they're not able to work?
Thank you for that. Barbara, please.
Through you, Warden McNeil. So individuals with their income support, we always encourage someone to have an income of some type. So whether that's Ontario Disability or whether it's Ontario Works or if it's employment or Canada Pension, everyone is encouraged to have an employment. Everyone is entitled to have an income source, I should say, of some particular type. So that's something the stability team ensures is in place. And it all depends on each individual's progress in terms of and their circumstances. So it's a collaborative approach. There's lots of community partners out there that we collaborate with in terms of moving someone along in terms of their housing readiness, their employment searches, where they are in wellness, health and wellness. So there's no one-stop solution or one-stop aspect for every individual. It's determining what caseload or what's right for each individual in terms of what supports they need. I mentioned a moment ago that we have within Ontario Works, we have a life stabilization aspect within our caseworkers, and that's part of the employment readiness as well.
Okay, thank you.
I just like to thank her, and I would sooner give everybody a hand up rather than a handout. So thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Klopp, please.
Thank you. Thank you for that answer. Although, again, at our previous meeting, why we had the meeting was for council to bring up the points they wanted to. Go back to the meeting there. It had ideas. It brought up the idea that this program, that we take that money. Right in the agreement, which is dated June 24th, which you're referring to, CMHAC and deliverables, we're responsible for collection of the monthly rent payable by each client and required the follow-up. So that money automatically is in there. The province gives it, and that's in their boilerplate. However, the note says this section's on hold until council direction regarding whether the rent revenue will be used as a reserve for rent supplement. So, as pointed out by our treasurer, it's going to be $94,000 that we're taking out of the taxpayers. Otherwise, they wouldn't have that in there. We just pass the motions. Most of us go to our federal provincial governments privately and say, you've got to start uploading because it's costing too much. We all agree it's a great idea. I read it's a nice idea, but it's another 94,000. The province, I point out to, would be an argument they would say is, you've asked for money, here's 94,000, and you're turning around and it's a nice idea, but you're taxing your local people. Quit bugging me. It's your problem. Just think about that. So again, I also point out that we all read that, but nobody brought it forward. It's here today. I respectfully, as I read here, those motions need to be voted on and have the discussion. So I'm requesting that we deal with the two new ones that have been brought in and have that discussion and see where they go.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments? Barbara, if I could ask one, the intent of this is for the continuum of housing for individuals. Is that correct?
Yes, Warden, that is correct.
Thank you. Okay, Past Warden again, please.
I think probably all of us have been approached by residents telling us to do something with the homeless situation. More prevalent certainly in the towns than the villages, and more prevalent in the villages than the rural areas. But we certainly get those comments in Central Huron. I guess, the continuum, we want to bring people up. We know a lot of our homeless people have issues with mental health and addictions. Both of those can be fixed. It takes a lot of time and a lot of work, but people can recover from those. And, you know, they will move up the continuum of housing, hopefully to the point where they get a job and can support themselves without any other help from the taxpayers. But I don't know how successful it will be if we don't give them that hand up. So, you know, I'm supportive of this. I think our population is supportive of this. So I'll leave it at that, other than to say, you know, I don't think it's realistic to think that we can save every person that's homeless. You know, but if we can save a portion of them, whether that's a quarter or a half or 3/4 of it, I think that cost that we're incurring here is something I'm willing to support. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Basnet, please.
Thank you through you, Mr. Warden. And to add to past Warden Ginn's comments, the motel model proved to be successful, even though we are looking at changing the model. I believe there was 4 people that were put into permanent housing after being in the motel model from one of the last reports we received at the Homelessness and Affordable Committee task force. And in saying that, 4 might not seem like a big number, but if we don't do what we're doing, the number remains 0. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Finch, did you have Past Warden McClellan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I certainly will vote in favor of this. We do need to do something at the moment, but Councillor Klopp is 100% correct. If we start picking up the tab on all these things, the province has a very good history over the last number of years of recognizing municipalities that are picking up those tabs and then not stepping up when they're supposed to. And boy, the health unit's got a lot of examples of that. And so I can go along with this one, but we really need to have a little more notice and discussion about where we want to go with the taxpayers' dollars.
Thank you very much for that. And I would make a concluding comment that Huron County is looked upon of doing something. And doing something, we are moving some residents that find themselves in this situation into permanent housing. And that is the intent. I would entertain a mover and a seconder for this motion, and then I will read the motion. Past Warden Ginn and Councillor Klopp seconds.
No, I'm not seconding. I'm just assuming you're making the motion and there's further discussion.
That is correct, after we get a seconder for that. And it's seconded by Past Warden McClellan. An additional comment that you'd like to make on this?
Yeah, John, again, the document that is in this one dated June 24th, which was 2 days before our previous meeting, the issue of the CMHA asked for a 2-year program. That's what they asked for. They didn't ask for 2 months. It also says in there that on page 7, the County of Huron has proposed, and it's a great idea. We talked about that. I was agreeing with it. This model instead of the hotel, but it's a comment in here that I'd like clarified. The transition model would run similar fashion to the emergency motel program with a low barrier guidelines, etc. The shelter program, as it exists for 2022-23 season, allowed us to support up to 14 individuals. Our proposed model would be available on a year-round basis. We propose that we can operate in this fashion within the same budget provided for 2023. At our previous meeting, I didn't ask it, neither did anybody else. It was a $17,000 increase. What changed from June 24th to the 26th that we had needed $16,000 more when it's right in a report that says we can work within the budget?
Okay, I will defer to staff, please. Barbara?
Thank you, Warden. There was, and when we were chatting with CMHA, we met with them on June 14th, and we had indicated that there was snow removal, for example, and utilities. Those were their 2 pieces. So it was the increase between snow removal and utilities.
Okay, the last comment.
Another question. We talk about this money, how it's going to be taken, which we're going to add 90-some thousand plus to our budget. It says in the report that nobody's going to be at 3 months, any of the individuals will have to be out. And some may have to be out sooner if they're not playing the game right. And it also says in here, correct me if I'm wrong, it says in the report that this money is only to help as they wait for another program, provincially or federally, to be on a program. So if you look at 3 months, and if we look at 100 cases, which are people, and there's 14 beds, it works out to about 8 weeks. We're talking maybe $1,000 to $1,200. And as pointed out, not every person that's going to be in this program is eligible for any money. So how does that square with what I'm hearing? It's going to be a big chunk of money for 14 people when it really won't be. Could that be explained to me?
Thank you. Barbara, please.
Thank you. And through you, Warden. There is a caveat within the agreement and the report, I believe it's in there too, that the 3 months is the guideline piece. We recognize that some individuals may require longer as they move along their housing continuum, and some individuals may not stay the full 3 months. So it's an average piece that was determined in terms of there was an average piece that was determined when we calculated an estimate of what the rent could be in a perfect case scenario. So if everyone stayed paid on time, $556 a month, that's where you see the $93,000. But it's going to be ebbs and flows. Some will stay longer, some will stay less, someone might miss a rent payment and it never gets picked up. It's in social services, there are no perfect solutions. There are ways that we help individuals, and there are going to be circumstances that we adapt to, and some will stay longer, some will stay less, but it's an average piece in there. And in terms of not having an income, as I mentioned earlier, our stability team works with every individual to ensure that they do have an income and that they do document readiness. So for example, if they don't have a birth certificate and they can't apply for a service, we help them. The stability team helps them become document ready. So there will always be an income source of some kind.
Thank you for that. We're dealing with individuals that we're helping along the continuum.
Questions with regards to the actual agreement. And keep in mind, what I heard is exactly what happens in the program, which happened when we were in the hotel. It has nothing to do with the $550. That's why we're paying 600 and some thousand for people to deal with them. It has nothing to do with that income side. But the actual agreement that's dated July, and if it passes here, it does say Schedule A, how will be paid. And again, going down to this summary report, it shows 800 and some $1,000 to be paid. The number of workers, it's the very last page, 879, which is again, November 1st to October 31st. And of course, it's the table, and it makes sense. But where is it in the agreement if we pass this? Because apparently we've talked to them. It doesn't specify in here. It specifies, does council going to go with the money being the money part of the 94,000 referred to? That's in there. But I see no clause where it says, oh, if you're going to go for 2 years or for the 2 months, we pay. All it says at the top of this agreement, and I'm looking at it from a business point of view, it says the agreement shall be a term of 1 year commencing November 1st and shall continue until December 31st, at which point the parties will mutually agree to renew additional 1 year or whatever. At the very bottom, when it says Schedule A, it only shows the 800 and some $1,000 it needs to pay. If I had someone have me sign this, I'd find it pretty hard for me to go back and say, well, we talked about 2 more months. So could that be explained? How that's being handled? When I read this document, it doesn't specify that CMHA, I can't see the page.
Thank you very much for your question. I will defer to our CAO, please, at this time.
Again, through you, Mr. Warden, it is as a result of conversation with CMHA, and really it's an operational option for us. Any changes in the agreement that would result in any changes in funding required from the county would come back to council for further approval. This just gives us some flexibility in terms of our conversation with CMHA and how we manage the agreement.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Vanstone, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. And this is just a beef I've got and really bugs me, but these people, we're giving them a hand up, we're putting them in homes and everything else. Then we have to hire somebody to clear their snow. I think it should be an incentive for them to get up early in the morning and clear the snow themselves. But as I was told, they don't, and our staff will trip and fall going into the place. But it's still, I think they should do something. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. It's time for a vote. We've had this motion that has been moved and seconded by past wardens McClellan and Ginn, that the Council of the County of Huron receives this report titled Service Agreement Bridge Housing and Stability Program as presented for information. And the Council of County of Huron agree to enter into a service agreement, Bridge Housing and Stability Program with Canadian Mental Health Association, Huron Perth Addiction and Mental Health Services, and that the appropriate bylaw be drafted and the county approves the financial adjustments. I will
Recorded vote, please.
absolutely. So I will now defer to our clerk, and I believe Jay Heffer has a comment that he would like.
Yes, thank you, Warden, a comment. And I'm just concerned with that last further that regarding that rent subsidy. I'm concerned that that's going to create a false sense of sustainability, and it could possibly create potential conflicts within the private sector and tenants moving forward. It's just a concern to me, and I'm not sure that I can support that last further that.
Okay, thank you for that, and I will defer to our clerk for to conduct a recorded vote, please.
So the warden just read the motion. Would you like me to reread it? No, we're okay. It's the printed motion in the agenda. Moved by Councillor Ginn, seconded by Councillor McClellan. I'm going to say your name. Say yay if in favor, say nay if not in favor. Councillor Klopp.
No.
Councillor Alvin McClellan.
Yes.
Councillor Doug Harding.
Yes.
Councillor Jamie Heffer.
No.
Councillor George Finch.
Yes.
I'm just going to go last name. Say Councillor Becker.
No.
Councillor P. Heffer. Councillor Dietrich.
No.
Warden McNeil.
Yes.
Councillor Noel.
Yes.
Councillor Vanstone.
No.
No, sorry.
Councillor McClellan.
Yes.
Councillor Bazinet.
Yes.
Councillor Ginn.
Yes.
Councillor Anderson.
Nay.
Motion carries 8-7.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much to our staff for bringing this forward. Does anyone have a notice of motion that they would like to indicate at this time for a future meeting? And if not, I would entertain a mover and a seconder to give the bylaws that are listed a first, second, third, and final reading. Mover and a seconder for these, please. Past Warden Ginn, Councillor Finch, all in favor of the motion. And that is carried. I thank you. We do not have a close to the public session. I would like to indicate that the Economic Development meets in a hybrid meeting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. on Napier Street. Tomorrow afternoon is a staff appreciation recognition at Maitland Golf Course. And of course, I would invite all members of County Council to attend that to thank our staff for what they do on our behalf on a daily basis. Council Day 2, 14th of August, Library Board on the 15th. The Council Day 1 moves us to September, the 4th day of it. A Library Board on the 11th of September, Council Day 2, 18th of September, and accessibility on the 23rd of September. And with that, I would entertain a mover and a seconder for the confirmatory bylaw, please. P. Heffer and Councillor Harding, that the Corporation of the County of Huron confirm the proceedings of this meeting and the seal of the corporation be affixed thereto. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. I thank you very much for that. At this time, I would like to wish all of County Council a great summer and also to our staff, and really encourage County Council and our staff to take vacation time. Rejuvenate, relax, spend time with family, friends, have pleasure, be safe, and everyone deserves that time. And we will have a staff picture. Is that correct? A council, yeah, I apologize, a council picture at the north end. So we will adjourn our meeting, break for 5 minutes and assemble there. Okay. A mover and a seconder to adjourn our meeting. Surprisingly, it is Jay Dietrich and Jay Heffer that Huron County Council does now adjourn at 10:38 a.m. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. I thank you, everyone.